Well, everybody, the last thing I ever expected was to be doing multiple videos about the importance of the First Amendment. Not because I don't think the First Amendment's important, obviously I do, but because I always assumed that nobody would have to defend it. I mean, that it would always be expected that you have a freedom to speak your mind, because my whole life, 47 years, you always have had a freedom. And anytime anybody even hinted at attacking that, nonprofit organizations, businesses, companies, citizens would come in and push back against any hint of that. What happened yesterday, and I want to fill you in if you're unaware, Brendan Carr, the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, who I know, by the way, I worked with him when I was on the Energy and Commerce Committee in Congress, went on a podcast and threatened ABC because of what Jimmy Kimmel said regarding something about the Charlie Kirk shooting. Now listen, he wasn't attacking Charlie Kirk. What he actually did was attack Donald Trump, because Donald Trump was asked, "How are you doing after the Charlie Kirk assassination?" And he said, "I'm doing great. Look over here, I'm building this great new ballroom." That's what people were making fun of. Regardless though, no matter what people were making fun of, in America, we have the right to humor. We have the right to free speech. It used to be the right that would just go absolutely crazy because comedians were being canceled for what they said. And I agree with them. Comedians shouldn't be canceled for what they say. We have a right to free speech, but they have become the speech Gestapo. So Brendan Carr makes this threat on a podcast, and ABC, obeying in advance with Sinclair and Nexstar, make a decision to pull Jimmy Kimmel off the air. ABC decides to stop producing. Nexstar and Sinclair decide not to broadcast anymore. Just like that. Now Sinclair said, we'll put him back on the air if he makes a public apology and donates a sufficient sum of money to Turning Point USA. Now, Turning Point USA is a political organization with a political focus and political goals. And what this company is saying is, we'll put Jimmy Kimmel back on the air if he donates to a cause he doesn't believe in. And by the way, a cause probably 65% of Americans don't believe in. That is extortion. And then Brendan Carr, the chairman of the FCC, was asked about this by Brian Stelter, who said, do you have anything to say about the fact that you went on a podcast and made basically a threat as a government official to pull the broadcast license of ABC? And he sent a emoji from The Office where they're celebrating. The chairman of the FCC, instead of a statement, sends a emoji from The Office. This is a joke of a government, by the way. This is a joke of an FCC. I know Brendan Carr. He's the biggest dork you'll ever meet, who is absolutely desperate for people's approval and desperate for fame, which is why he's doing what he's doing, because he's making MAGA and Donald Trump happy. So he's using the position of government, he's using his perch in government to try to build his own fame. Now, we as Americans have to push back against this, guys. Because if the government even threatens to go after our First Amendment right, and companies obey because they have to worry about their bottom line, then we may as well not have a First Amendment, because we are being silenced anyway. So what would I say if I was a Democrat? I would be very clear that if we take charge again, the FCC will be completely overhauled, and any company that does this obeying in advance, any company that does this acquiescing to threats from the FCC, because they have a merger coming up, which, by the way, they do, they will be investigated for antitrust. We will not accept this. We will hold people accountable for going against our First Amendment rights. Guys, this is not a joke. This isn't a fire drill. This isn't something that we're making a big deal, but it's really not. This is a 5-alarm fire. And I'll tell you, I believe that MAGA and Donald Trump have overstepped their mandate with this. We all have compassion for the killing of Charlie Kirk. And everybody I've seen that's serious and not an anonymous face on the internet has said nothing like that should ever happen in the United States. But they are trying to now use this as a way to silence their opponents, and we have to refuse to allow ourselves to be silenced. Period. They will not silence us. By the way, they can't silence us because we have a First Amendment. All they can do is threaten, and we can beat them in court every time. But if these corporations decide to settle instead of going to court, that's a whole different thing. So we should be boycotting ABC, boycotting Disney. The Screen Actors Guild, the Writers Guild should all make the decision to not produce content for ABC or Disney until this is fixed. We have to stand together to defend our First Amendment rights, or we're going to wake up one day and realize that they're all gone. So hit like, subscribe, follow. We're going to keep talking about this. Take care.